Okay, we're going to move back to the inventory. And this time we're going to establish reachability for post tokens. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to always start with the reachability timeline so we can see what happened already. And in this particular case, because we do have an appropriate response like HTTP 401 response, right? In this case, active testing is able to give us more appropriate feedback, right? So the request failed due to authentication, 401, unauthorized, okay? We suggest making sure you configure proper authentication in the application. And in our case, we have no authentication. And we both know, actually we all know, that if I take you back to our postman, let me go back to my postman, here it is. We all know that if we are to use the post tokens operation, we know that we need to provide an authentication, basic authentication with the username John Doe in order to be able to get the token, right? Otherwise, we're getting 401 unauthorized, okay? All right, so we know that. Um, so going back to the request editor is not going to help us in this case, right? In this case, it's not going to help, right? So what we want to do is we want to go to the settings, environment, and set up an authentication. Now, in order for us to set up an authentication, we need to first create a secret, right? So we're going to open the secret manager. And of course, there's no secrets out of the box, so we need to create the very first one. So we're going to select that secret, and we're going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it John Doe Basic. Again, you have a John Doe Basic in order to authenticate and get the token, and then you have a John Doe uh, authenticated using the JWT, right? The JSON Web Token. So we need to select the secret type. There's plenty of those, right? There's about a dozen different ways of authenticating. OAuth 2.0, post-one collection, and even proof of possession token signature, and so on. So you got plenty of stuff. In our case, we're going to use, in our class, we're going to use basic, we're going to use a post-one collection, and we're going to use text. Okay, so we start with basic. And of course, you're going to get the similar set of controls as Postman was presenting us, right? We selected basic in Postman, we get the username and password. We select basic in the secret manager and active testing secret manager, you still get the same inputs. So if you work with an authentication, and again, if you're developing the API, the developer is going to be using active testing, chances are you know what you're doing, right? And you know exactly what information you need to provide. So let's start with the username, John, basic, username, make sure you click it, John, password, Doe. This is it, pretty much, right? And now you can save. And as soon as you can save, the only indication that something happened is at the bottom left where you get this pull up that says secret created successfully, right? Or secret saved successfully. I don't even remember what it was saying. All right. So now that you can also open again the secret manager, you can see your secret is right here, John Doe Basic. All right, let's cancel. Okay. Um, how is this basic secret used? And again, it's used in the authorization header. How do I know? Because I'm using Postman, right? And if I go to headers, you will see that these user interfaces, let me go back here, the user interface, the authorization, the authentication user interface is just a quick way for you to provide something that is easy to use, but then Postman is going to pretty much base64 encode these values and provide them in the authorization header using the basic prefix, right? So that's exactly what we need to do. So new authentication. What's the authentication name? I'm going to use the same exact name, John Doe Basic. Again, this identifies the authentication, not the secret. Okay. Role. You have 3 roles out of the box, and you can type anything you like in here in order to create your own set of roles. We will not bother with that. Instead, we're going to use read writer right here, and we're going to go and select the type. What's the type? Header. What's the key? Authorization. What's the value? 2 ways you can do the data entry, right? 2 ways you can do the data entry. At, and then you get a set of choices, and you can make your selection, or you can type the whole thing. Now I've seen this type, this at symbol bugged out on me. I've seen it. and I couldn't enter anything. I had to delete it and I had to retry and so on. So if in your case also bugs out, well, there's the other way. Double braces, and then you type the name of the secret you provided, which you may not remember, but in our case, we have the same exact authentication name, so it's easy. John Doe space basic, not token, basic, and you close the angle, the curly braces. Okay. That's it. That's the only thing you need to specify. You don't have to specify basic because in this particular case, it will be automatically introduced. It will be added automatically for us. Now, we all know, or some of us may know, that APIs may support multiple different types of authentication. You may support JSON Web Token authentication. You may support OAuth 2.0 authentication. Well, you just have to define the corresponding secrets and come in here and keep providing the different types. Right? Is it a cookie? Is it a header? What is it? Right? You do something like that, you're good to go. All right. All right. Let's create. And here's now our authentication. Now that we have an authentication, now we're able to go back and establish reachability. Now, generally speaking, every time you make a change in the settings, you have to run a scan. The only time you do not have to run the scan is when you just created an authentication. Let me repeat. Every time you update or you create something new in the environment settings, you must run a scan before those changes, those updates, those additions take effect. The only time you do not have to do that is when you create an authentication. Right? So we just created an authentication so we can easily go back to the inventory and select the post tokens and try to check reachability. And again, I'm going to clean up my screen for a second on my terminal. There we go. And I'm going to check reachability now for post tokens. Check reachability, let it go. And reachability has been established. Here it is, reachable. Right? Let me show you. Let me show you what happened. Right? So again, active testing was to verify that this base URL that is associated with the API is accessible. And again, you maybe wonder, why do we have to do it every single time? I don't know, maybe because your server may die in between one test for reachability and the other test for reachability. That's why it has to do it every single time. Right? Then it's going to try to execute. Look, it tries to access post tokens without any authentication, no authorization header. And of course, it's going to fail, 401 unauthorized. But then it's going to try to use the basic authentication we just provided. Right? And then it's going to succeed using this basic authentication. And again, the last three are identical, right? The first is for the reachability optimizer to get a warm-up. Then the next one is the one that's going to be used to establish reachability. And the last one is going to establish whether this type of an API operation is repeatable. And this is it. Right? And of course, you're reachable. Now we have post tokens being reachable. So our users API, both operations for our users API are reachable. Okay. For the time being, this section is done. In the next section, we're going to run another scan in order to scan all our the users API in full.